How's it going, everybody? Hi, Rohan. How you doing? Okay, let me check. Is the video okay, and is the sound all right? Everything working okay? Hey, Graham. Hi, Essence of Time, and Mr. Clayton, AZ Clayton. Hi, Koji. Oh, good. Hi, Big Sal. Clyde, good to see you. I see part of it. Anyway, um, I got one of the comments I got on the videos and says, "Well, why don't you do something on something other than just watches per se? So why don't you talk about some of the things that that watch collectors might want to have for watch collections?" Um, of the essence of time, are you going to go to the New York Watch Time event again this year? I already got my tickets. I think I got our tickets I got them for Friday night. Um, and I don't know. I may get them for the next day too. But Friday night is the time where you get to meet and talk and so forth. Hey, Dominic. Um, by the way, too, I would really encourage everyone in the New York area or can get over there. It's in October. I'm trying to think what the date is for the Watch Time show. Great time. It's a great time to meet people you've been talking with online. And by the way, too, they have lots of watches. I had some of my best interviews I did were at that. I had one with Marco Lang and Kari Voutilainen and Akariva. Trying to think who else. A bunch of them, and it was a lot of fun. And then, of course, I met so many people that I've known sort of online. That was a lot of fun too. So anyway, hi Neff and Paul, how you doing? Yeah, okay. Essence, you're gonna have to your name tag isn't gonna say of essence of time. So let me know when you say that's me. Um, Okay, let me get started with some of the things I think that are really useful. Just yesterday, I got this magazine. It's called Europa Star. Now, the magazine itself is really, I mean, there are all kinds of interesting articles about watches and so forth. A lot of it is um, sort of hyperbole and so forth, but that's okay. Great photography. But the big thing about this magazine isn't it per se. I don't, say, well, here's a 20th century way people used to communicate. They had these paper things. Um, oh, yeah, that's a good question, Clyde. I will. Anyway, back to Europa Star. The reason I mention Europa Star is because with membership in the Horological Society of New York, you get it free. I've never paid for one, and they're like I said, they're super nice magazines. I'm trying to think, um, this is on the cover. That's a Kari Voutilainen's latest uh, watch that he has in the Grand Prix this year. Um, okay, so the Horological Society of New York. They have all of these seminars. So you don't have to live in New York. You don't even have to live in the United States. They have them all over the world. The other thing they have too that's really great that I've gone to, beside the lectures, I that was where I met F.P. Jorn at one of the lectures, but also they have the presentations, the same lectures that they have live in New York. They also you can get them remotely, and they have all different kinds of things like that. Plus, they have these workshops, and they have those all over the world. Most of them are in New York. They're at like they have these after meeting ones in the evening. They'll have workshops on usually on watchmaking. The one I took was a weekend one, and basically it took three of the different ones and put them together, and we learned how to disassemble and reassemble a watch movement, which was sort of fun. But so in addition to that, you have a resource of a lot of people you can back and forth with. Hi Tuna. Okay. Yeah, this year, yeah, this is the people there. I think I will ask him. Like, I'm not sure. What I want to know is what he's going to do with the older ones, the ones like I have for Urban Jurgensen. Okay, let's take a look at some things and please give me your ideas. What you think would be a good idea? Hi Lee. What would be a really good thing to have in watch collection? One of the things I got this one recently. This is one I had on the cover, and it's a really nice little two watch um, case that you can take with you if when you go somewhere and you just want to have a couple extra watches. Let's see, maybe a sports watch, maybe something formal, maybe a field watch. And so it's really for, if you're taking three watches, you have two in here, and then you got one on your wrist. Hi, Truman. Good day to you too. Um, okay, so that's another thing. By the way, too, I have a bunch of these, but I also have rolls. The good thing about the rolls is that they have these little pillows that you wrap your watch around, and so you don't have to flatten them out. I don't when you flatten them out, sometimes it gets a little awkward, but this usually has plenty of room. You fold over and then you stick it in here, and it's got a little thing like that. I got this from Amazon. This is not a fancy one. I do have a fancy one. If you want a fancy one, a really super nice one, high quality, a Wolf. I have a Wolf one, and it's sort of it's rounded, and so you can put your watches there. It it will fit in a carry-on, and when this is another thing. Whenever I go anywhere with watches, I always carry it a carry-on. Um, Recently, I was reading about all this lost luggage in Heathrow. They just have tons. They apparently they don't have enough people who came back to work, and there's all kinds of problems like that. And it wasn't only Heathrow; it's all over the world where people are still trying to get over the pandemic. So, if you're gonna travel with watches and you want to take more than one, when I go on a cruise or something, I always like to take at least three with me, and then one on my wrist. So I always take about four, and that's always fun to have your watches to play with when you're away. Um, okay, your Wolf watch trainer. Oh, okay, that's another thing too. I was going to mention. I've got a couple watch winders. Um, One I don't use too much. Whoops, but I have it plugged in case I decide to. This is a weird one I got. This one was on sale, and it's got a little thing in here, and you plug it in, and then on the back you turn it on, and it will keep your watch nicely wound for you. What I do on my the watch winder that I have that seems to be working all the time. It isn't so much a matter of laziness, even though that could play a role in a watch winder. Um, I have my Christian Vanderclaw moon phase is just a bear to set. It's very difficult to set, and so once I get it set, I don't want it to set it again. I put it in there, and it keeps really beautiful time. Also, too, I keep my little Seiko 5 in there. The reason for that is that that's sort of a watch that I have for that I use for yard work, things like that. Um, okay, let's see. Every collector needs a bigger closet for all those watch boxes. Boy, that's a really good point about having a place to put the watch boxes. There's my Harboring 2 has probably the best watch box I've ever had, and it's this little wooden one. Even better, FP Journe has these little bitty ones that are they're not very big at all, just enough for the watch. Most of the ones I have, they have these big elaborate watches, and they could be a closet themselves. They're so big. But you're right about having some place to put all those watch boxes. When you go to sell your watch, if you ever do, it's always important. Someone wants to know whether they have the box or not. Sometimes I bought watches with them, sometimes without, often without papers, and never had a problem one way or the other. If I don't have a box, I'll have one of these little bitty ones you can pick up. And I for the for the prizes for the uh, Grand Prix picks, by the way, which has been very busy this year. I keep them down below here, these little boxes. Um, I use a clipped-on hard watch case for going through a metal detector. Oh, that's a good idea, Dominic. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, another thing I would highly recommend is a demagnetizer. I have two of them. Uh, some watches like this one. This is a H Moser, and H Mosers have these Strawman hairsprings in them. I've never had a problem with those magnetizing. They're made out of a combination of niobium and titanium, and they just totally non-magnetic. Uh, and so I never have a problem with this watch. On the other hand, my FP Journe CS, man, that thing just loves to get magnetized, and so it's slowing down. And so I have to pull out my DMag and run it through that a few times, and then it's fine again. I keep my watches all together in the same place, but the only one that seems to get magnetized no matter where I put it is my FP Journe CS. So it's good to have a demagnetizer. Let me tell you another thing I think it's really important to have is a time grapher of some sort. This is one that I have. I've had it for years, and I like it for two reasons. It's by Frederick Constant of all people, and then I have this little adapter that I put into my iPhone. And what you do with it is that you connect the two into the basically into the microphone into your camera to your iPhone, or if you have an Android, it'll work with that too. And then you simply clip your watch here. Here's the on the back. You have right over the let's see, like this. You clip it like that. You plug it in, and it'll tell you whether it's fast or slow, and a bunch of other stuff. But the really good thing about this is the software that you can get with it. That comes, you get free with it. What it does, it has a database, and I keep the database on all my watches. And every time I do an analysis of it, it puts it into the database. And so it's really easy to see the history of how your watch is doing. And so that's one way. The other way is what they call a Weichi or something like that. Those are the bigger ones. Those are much better. These are fine, but they're probably not as accurate as the Weichi ones. The only problem, at least for me, that I have is that they're pretty good size, and so I got to pull it out of the box and get it all set up and everything. But I think it's very important to have one of those because it'll tell you a couple things. For example, um, if your watch is running slow, usually if it's magnetized, all you got to do is look at it, and it's not keeping very good time. If it runs, here are the three things that can happen to a magnetized um, watch. It'll run too fast, it'll run too slow, or it'll stop altogether. And I've had all three. So uh, um, that's how come I really depend on a demagnetizer. Those, the Patek Philippe, a lot of the Swatch-owned companies, they're all going to silicon hairsprings, and so they don't have to worry about that. I mean, that's one of the good things. Of course, they also don't have to worry about adjusting it because they can't, not unless they have unless they know how to shift the weights on a free sprung balance. But anyway, I highly recommend getting a some kind of demag and time grapher of some sort. They don't call these time. This one's not called a time grapher. It's called a analyzer. Another thing, I've got a workbench over here. They're desktop workbenches, and they've got all kinds of stuff in here that that I use a lot. Another thing I recommend. This is always hard to open for some reason. Um, is a caliper. I have an electronic caliper, and you can measure everything with it. For example, you can measure your lug width, and so you know how whether your lugs, what the size of your lugs is when you want to get a new band for it. Um, and related to that, this is something I got recently. This looks like it's a really stupid thing, but it's really great. All it is this is from Bergeon. It's it's something that you can get the size of your wrist with. You just sort of put it like this, and just want to do it without your watch on. You put it like that, and then you pull it, and then you can see what your wrist is, and it gives it in both millimeters and inches. And so that's sort of it's a real simple thing to have, and it's always a nice thing. Um, Let me suggest a couple other things too that I think everybody should have. A couple other things here. Um, this is if you have those punch, what are they called? Pop off backs on your. If you have any quartz watches and you want to go and you want to change your battery, get one of these and it'll just pry it off. Another thing you want to have a good one of these. This is a spring bar tool, and the spring bar tool it also has got a little millimeter gauge on it, so you can measure some things, namely the width of your band. These things are for putting on and taking off um, your watch bands. Get a good one. You don't want to get a cheap one because this is something. If you get a good one, it'll last virtually forever. Another kind of thing. These are sort of a good thing to have. This is for taking off those screw down backs. Now, for the most part, most of you, I imagine, are not going to be doing watchmaking. Okay, and but you have something like if you want to do some kind of simple adjustment with a curb regulator, just take a little toothpick and move it back and forth. To take the back off, this is very simple to use on a screw down. You just unscrew it like that, and that's a good thing to have. I always have extra screws and extra spring bars too. It's always a good thing to have. This goes with a recommendation of a little desktop workbench. They're not expensive. It was about $80 or something for the thing. I got it at I got it. I think what is it called? Prix or something like that. But you can get them just about anywhere. Okay, let's see some other ideas. I hear Magic Johnson and Rock Hudson were both big collectors. Ah, I didn't know that. There's some guy in Kiss, I think, who's a big collector. There was some, famous rockers who are big collectors. So, um, ultrasonic clearing for metal bands. Ooh, that's another good idea. I have exactly one metal band. So I, but it's a really good idea. Once you do that, you'd be surprised how much better looking it is. There are other kinds of things, and I'm always dubious about it. I got it somewhere down there. I have these things. They're called Cape Cod cloth, and they're for steel and silver and some other things for polishing the case of your watch. You got to be careful with that, though. I don't use it too much. I just use a regular, um, one of these regular cloths that you just sort of keep your watch nice and shiny. You know, that's about all I use. The Cape Cod cloth really gets a lot of grime and so forth off your watch. But like I said, you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. What are some others? I like the thing that Dominic had about the ultrasonic cleaner. If you have a lot of metal bands, they can get gummed up a lot if you wear them a lot, and it's having an ultrasonic band. Uh, what I use for those little grubby things, I use a soft bristle toothbrush. It's in my one of the things. I have a time grapher, and one of my watches does not do well on it. But when I wear the watch on my wrist, it is basically spot on. You know, um, Graham, yeah, I know that happens, and the thing screwed up. I'll tell you one of the things. There is no way that my resonance watch, the time grapher goes nuts as soon as I put that resonance watch on because it's really got these two little watches inside or two little movements inside that keep resonance by having the balance wheels really close and so that they can get into resonance. And so there's sometimes, yeah, that's right. Um, oh God, how old is he now? He's probably about 85 or 86 years old. My watchmaker, he doesn't have a time grapher. And I don't know. I think he's the one that like the Elton John's Pinball Wizard. He does it with taste of smell and touch and so forth. My old watchmaker, he does it that way, and it turns out perfect when he works on it. You'll probably also need patience and the ability to say no. Paul, that is so true. Where are you going to get that though? It doesn't come in a can. I wish it did. You're right though. Um, Hi, Tuna. Don't be like me. I use a screwdriver and hammer. No, don't be like Tuna. Uh, oh, rubber ball. Yes, these these are fantastic. Um, I call them sticky balls. They're are friction balls. That's another thing that are called are friction balls. Friction balls are really better than that metal thing that I showed you. The reason for it is that your friction balls they don't scratch it at all, and they're really fantastic. I've got a couple of them. Whoops, no, that's something else. Um, Another thing you need is a puffer, little puffer like that. If you're doing some work, especially if you have the case back off, be very careful to keep all the dust away from inside of your watch. Um, yeah, you know what? Too, one of the most important things you can have is a cup to go with to put it down somewhere to have a cup with it so it doesn't roll all over the place. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, that's in fact that's for screwed on back. You can't beat those. Another thing too, it seems that I cannot remove a back that's held on with screws without losing at least one. I don't know why it happens to me every single time. So I got a little bag full of extra screws in case I lose them. Um, but for the most part, I avoid taking the back off that are screwed on. Um, yeah, the gauzers. Yes, that's. I think a degauger is isn't that the same as a demagnetizer? Um, Carl, compressed air and Q-tips alcohol. Those are good tools. Hey, Groundhog, current Kiss drummer is a collector. Yes, yes. Man, I tell you, I can't believe some of these groups that are still around, like Kiss. When my kid was quite young, he conned me into taking him to he and his friend to a Kiss concert. That was fun. Um, I like my blower brush to clean in between the links in my shaft. Oh, really? Yeah, that's a great idea. I like the rubber ball, doesn't scratch. Yep, you're right. Yeah, jeweler's tape, very easy to scratch when. Oh, yeah, that's another good point. Yeah, you want to keep your uh, uh, you want to keep your watch in good shape. By the way, too, this is another thing that I was told is that when you put your straps on, always work from the back because you have your spring bar tool and you're digging around, especially in something soft like gold. You don't want to scratch it, but if you do, you want to scratch it where no one can see it, which is on the back. I always put these on and take them off. Another thing, I'm sort of two minds with the easy off, the ones you just sort of pull like that and they pop off. The reason I'm of two minds is that it seems that uh, your band can get torn up with those things pretty easily. I've had to re-glue. I got some boot glue and with a toothpick, and when they start getting torn up and the leather starts coming off, you just take a little toothpick and some of that boot glue and put it in. Tell you the truth, all I think boot glue is some type of super glue. That's all it is. Um, a magnetic tray to keep those screws you were losing. Trouble with the magnetic tray, Lee, is that they, first of all, they never get to the magnetic tray. There's somewhere some kind of black hole around here. I don't care. I could do it on any surface, clean as a whistle, and that thing would disappear. But anyway, with anything magnetic, you got to be careful because you don't want to magnetize your watch. Um, yeah, Carl, you're right. They're very inexpensive, and they do come in handy. I got two of them. One is a little flat one, and it doesn't seem to work as well. But I've been told that if you do it enough times, it'll work. The other one I got has sort of like a hole in the middle, and you put your watch through the hole, and then you pull it out really slowly, and the they're great, and but they sort of work a little better than the flat ones. The problem with them though is that they get hot really quick. So after about two or three runs with them, you got to let them cool off for a while. But they do work. Um, Plier type spring bar removers for bracelets, so you can get both sides at the same time. Okay, yeah, that I'm not familiar with those. Usually what I do, I just pop out one side and then pull it out. But if you, I guess you could do it with two. I'm not coordinated enough to use two. A good topic of another show might be what to look for in a good watch repair person. I agree. That is a good topic. Thing is that well, here, my experience with getting a good watch repair person, I had this guy who was great, and he retired. A lot of them are retiring. It's hard to find. There's a sort of a database where they have a lot of different guys on there, but not as much as they used to. Yeah, Paul, that's what I use, an old toothbrush. I got several old toothbrushes. Um, well, looks like my time is up. Boy, I tell you, it went a lot quicker than I thought. Um, this afternoon, what I wanted to talk about this afternoon, if you guys are interested in it, for a long time, people have complained about the categories that they have in the Grand Prix and certain elements about them. For example, the iconic, like what's that? And then they have a diver watch category, but they don't have for any other sports watch like a motorsport or a or pilot watches and things like that. So I thought, maybe that'd be a something we could talk about, or some how they might redo the categories, and also getting um, quartz and smart watches, electronic watches, out of the out of some of these mechanical watch categories, and simply have one for themselves. Something we might want to talk about, though. Okay, guys, gotta go. Thanks for dropping by. I'll be back at 4 o'clock New York time, Eastern Daylight Time, and Monday is the 1st of August. Man, time is flying. Take care.